Hey everyone, we hope you're doing well. I'm Arshia and I'm here to welcome you to Lite 2022's second design session. Today we'll be going over two important design softwares, Figma and Adobe Illustrator. We'll give you an overview of the softwares as well as a live demonstration to help you understand the tools a little better. If you have any queries throughout the session, please feel free to type them either in the chat box or in the Q&A section. We'll either address them then and there or at the end of the session.
Hi, I'm Adipov and I'll be taking you over Figma. Sorry, right. Um, so when you open Figma, this is the main interface you'll see. So there's three main parts to it. So on the left side, you have your layers panel where you can look through all your layers that you have. Uh, and at the top part, you have tools. So you have your move tool, frame tool, shapes, your pen tool, and text box. And then on the right side, what you have is basically it basically allows you to edit whatever you've chosen. So supposing we open this, then here, if I've selected a frame, then I'll be able to edit the frame from here. So to take you over the thing, I'll just probably recreate this design that you can see here. Right. So yeah, so basically it's an illustration that I've recreated, and I'll just go over it once again to show you all the features that you can use in Figma. So to start, we'll create a frame. You can either select it from here or you can press F on the keyboard. And then I'll just make it roughly the same size. Then what I want to do is probably make the background a similar gradient because it's easier to just change your frame background than to add a rectangle behind. So I'll open the fill tool here, the fill section for the frame. And then since it's a gradient from like purple to orange, so I'll select that. Here you can select either a solid color, a linear gradient, a radial gradient, or other types of gradients. So we'll be sticking to maybe a linear gradient. That's what you use most of the time. So when I select it, it shows you the two colors with the gradient is between. So I'll select my first color as like a purple somewhere around here. And then for the second color, what it automatically does is basically zero opacity. So I'll increase the opacity and then make it like an orange-ish here. And I want to move it up a bit because to match the gradient here. And then you can also add another more colors just by clicking anywhere on the line itself. So I'll click here to add like a slightly darker orange. Like that. Now, what you can see is there's like bands of color. So to fix that, what you can do is just add another color in between and then just make that a bit more saturated. And then I can add another color down here. So you can still see some bit of banding, but there's not really a lot you can do about that. It's just what happens. So yeah, now I can close this and then create basically the C. I'll create a rectangle and just, so what you can do is like, either you can select it from here or I can just press R on the keyboard to select it. Yeah. So now drag it across to make the shape. I can, if I wanted to make a square, I can press Shift while doing it, so it makes a square a regular shape instead of like dragging it across the corner to make a rectangle. Right. So then what I want to do here is then create another gradient which will kind of match the top gradient, but as a reflection. So what you can see here is this first is slight amount of white at the top. So I'll just add that in and then add another color matches this orange here. So what I can do is I can select color picker, so that I don't have to choose the color again. And then I'll select somewhere around here. And then I'll probably make it a bit closer to white since it's a reflection. I want to move this up a little closer. And what you can see is the white is a bit too bright, so I can maybe reduce the opacity of that a small amount. Then I'll continue adding the other colors here. So around here-ish for this one. And then third color, which will be the purple. And that's the two main gradients done. I'll probably move this a little lower. And right, so that's the two main gradients done for both the reflection and for the sky. So next, I'll probably add the sun here. So it's, as you can see, it's just a circle. So I'll select that and I'll press shift because I want to make it a perfect circle. So roughly about that size, I guess. And then I want it to be right in the center. So what I can do is I can move it around, and then we will see when it reaches the center, there's this red line which will basically keep it in the center. It's basically a guide to just help you choose where you want it. And then since it's a half circle, I could either move it down below the rectangle in the layers, or another thing I can do instead of that is to just open this, which basically opens all the nodes. So then I'll move, so I can then edit it to be a straight shape instead of a curve. Right. And then, so this will also have a similar gradient as you can see there. So Vedant, you mean the part where I explain the nodes? Right, okay. So I'll just go over it again. So I'll create a circle. And so what I can do then is there's this, you see these 4 dots and 4 lines. So this is basically allows you to edit the nodes of the thing, of the whatever shape you selected. So then there's 4 nodes here which all have these handles for the curves. So if I move this, I can change that. I'll go over the handles more when I'm going over the mountain shapes. So what I'll do is move this bottom node and then snap it to this top one. So basically, there's now 3 nodes instead of 4. And then then if I leave it, the problem is that there's this small circle here, and then this curve here. So I'll select it again, and then I'll move this up, and that basically reduces the curve here. Basically reduces this curve to 0. And then I can do the same on this side. Yeah. So then it's basically now out and hang the thing. So then what I'll do is create another gradient for the sun itself. So a linear gradient. And colors, I would want it to be close to white. So around there. And then the second color, I probably choose an orange from around here. And increase opacity. Yeah. But it's still a bit too dark, so I'll reduce, make it a little lighter. And then have sun. Basic, I wanted to be a little, like, I want it to be a bit more white than orange, so I can move this down and that should. So then that will basically move the white further down, and yeah, so it'll match the original better. And so as you can see, there's also light glow around the sun at the top. So what I can do for that is you can go into effects, and then the default you have is a drop shadow. So I'll show you what the drop shadow does. You can see here that it basically adds this shadow beneath the shape. like buttons and things, but here you can, instead of using it for a shadow, you can also use it for a glow. So what I'll do there is, so you see these two X, Y. So X basically means how, like the X axis and the Y axis, how where the shadow is in relation to the shape. So I'll make these both zero so that it's centered to the shape, and then I can choose whatever color I want. So around there and increase the opacity, and then I'll increase the blur a lot. And now you can see that the shape is coming around behind it. So then I can do this down and change the color a little. Um, right. So then the next thing I'll do is these like mountain shapes that you can see in the background. So for that, I'll select the pen tool, which you can get either from here or by pressing P. And then I'll basically click, and then you can make a node, and then yeah. So since you can see that there's these like very constant curves, what I'll do is I click, and then when I drag, you can see that these handles appear. So this is one way of making curves. There's another way which I'll just show you. So I'll just continue making the shape here, and then I'll select it here. Since I want to make a straight line, I don't want it to continue as a curve. So I'll make a straight line and then put it back there. So now what I'll do is, so here you can see by default, Figma adds a black stroke to the shape. So, but we don't want a stroke here, we just want a fill. So I'll select the fill, and then right, we want a gradient again. So I'll select a gradient, like kind of white at the whitish at the top, and then the purple, the darkish purple, as you can see there. And then in the middle, I'll add another slightly lighter purple. Now I wanted to get a little, just the tips of the mountains. I want to basically be white, so I'll move that a little higher, like that. So wherever I move this is where the gradient moves essentially. So I'll put that around. Now it's still above the sea, so I'll move it down in the layers. I want the sea to be right at the top so that everything I can just put behind it, and I don't need to worry as much about having the exact shapes. But like as you can see, since I've chosen low opacity white for the top, you can see that the stuff is still showing through. So I'll just fix that. Then I'll just make another shape for the smaller one in front of it. So yeah, what you'll notice is that even though the shape is going out of it, it's still not showing outside of the frame. So what the frame does is essentially it cuts everything to remain within it. As you can see with the rectangle here, it goes slightly out of it. I'll do a similar thing with a stroke. I'll remove the stroke and then add a fill. But you can see here that it's still a relatively solid color. So I'll just, instead of bothering through a gradient, I can just make it a solid color, like similar dark thing to what I used here. And as you can see, since I started making the shape outside of the frame, it will automatically make the thing outside the frame in the layers. So I'll move that in again under here. And I can copy this same shape this side and add it to the other side. So I'll move this to this side, and then I need to flip it horizontally. So you can right click it, and then you can either flip it horizontally or you can flip it vertically. So I'll flip it horizontally and then move it here, and then I'll edit the curve. So edit the curves, I can grab these handles and then I can just move it around however I want. So I'll probably do it like that, and then edit this one a bit as well. Move it down at there. And if I select the pen tool, I can also add another node in the middle part. I can just add one here. Since I want it to be a slightly different curve, I don't want it to follow the same pattern. And add the node will still follow the same curve as the existing path. Then I have another thing here, and I'll edit it since it's not exactly the same even in the reference, so I'll change it a bit. Uh, Maybe make it a bit less white, add some more purple. Um, right. So that's those two base mountain shapes done, and then there's these clouds, and so yeah, I'll get started on the stuff in the sky. So what I can do for the clouds is I can just select this, and then since they won't be constant curves, they'll just be basically circles that are overlapping. So what I can do is I can just randomly make a few nodes and then do that. What I can do is I can see this bend tool. So I can select that and then move this around a bit. So what this does is it creates curves without, like, after you've made the nodes, and then you can edit it similarly as you would with the normal handles. So again, I'll change to remove the stroke, add a fill, and then linear gradient from there maybe. And reduce the opacity, increase the opacity of this just a little bit. And then I want to edit the nodes a bit since I don't really like how it looks, so I'll just move that around. And then I'll add another one. Same thing with the pen tool. Switch it to a linear gradient. Then next thing I need to add are the stars here. So I can select circle tool and just make a bunch of small circles. And now if I want to duplicate this, what I can do is on the keyboard, I'll press Alt, and then you can see the mouse changes to two cursors, and then I can just drag and then make a bunch all over. Still a little bit big, I feel, so I'll just select all of them. So if I press Shift, instead of selecting one, it selects everything. So I'll just do that for all of them, and then make them a little bit smaller. And then I can also then just edit all of their colors together since I want them to be a bit closer to white, and then use the opacity. And then I can move them around wherever I want. Then the third thing that I want to add is just this moon at the top. So what I can do for that is I'll create two circles, and then I'll just duplicate this. And at the top, if I select both of them, you'll see this shape here. So these are called booleans. So if I select them, I can change what the union would essentially just add them together and make them one shape. Then subtract, which what I want to use here, to basically only show the difference between them. So it kind of acts like a mask essentially. So if I move this here and then select both of them. Then yeah. And there's another one, intersect, which only shows what happens if it only shows the bits where they both cover each other. And then exclude only shows the bits where they don't cover each other. Like, yeah, you can get what they mean just from the names. So then, since since I want to subtract here, since it's a crescent shape, I'll select that and then I'll move it where I want. I want it to be a bit smaller, so I hold shift, then it scales it according to the shape. So the same aspect. Then I'll make it a white and then lower the opacity of it. It's a little big, so I can make it smaller and move it there. Right. Now the third thing is these birds here. So what I can do for that is I can just make a couple of make a square here, and then I'll edit the nodes for this. So I'll select this and then I'll move it down. And then you can see it makes kind of like these two triangles together, which is what we want for the wings. So I'll just do that. And then if I rotate it a bit, I can then make them whatever color I want, say bluish here, or no, purple. And then I'll make them, it's like really big right now, so I'll make it smaller. So there. And then I can also just alt and make another, make more, and then I'll edit the size accordingly. That's all of the elements for the sky done. So then what I can do then is, since I also want to create these reflections in the water, I can just select every shape here. Just see basically everything up here. Select all of this. I can then also group them. So I can right click and then group selection, or I can just press Control G and that will also do. I've created this group, and then since I don't really want to have them as shapes again, since I won't really be editing them, what I can do is I can right click and then I can go to copy and then copy them as PNG. So then that way when I paste, it will just it'll paste a PNG instead of like shapes. And I'll make it the same size as the elements here. Now, since I brought it here to the center, I can also press Alt and Shift, and that way it will resize it only around the center axis. So I'll just do that, and now it's the same size as everything up here, roughly. So then I can flip this vertically, and then move it over the sea. And I'll just try and match it a bit. And I'll lower the opacity of this by I can either do it from here. I can type in say 20%, or I can also do it from here. Also keyboard shortcuts for this. So if I press 1, it will make them 10%, 2 for 20, 3 for 30, and so on. So I think about 30 is good. But as you can see, there's also some of it going about the shape, about the sea. So I want to create. So what I can do is I can copy the shape for the sea. So I'll press Alt and create a copy of that. And then if I select these two, there's this shape here. So what this does is it uses it as the mask. So then it works the same way as intersect. So basically, it will only show whatever is about the rectangle. And yeah, that's done with the reflections mostly. There's also these here. So what I can do there is I can just create a triangle and make it a really large triangle. And then I can I can move this here about this, and then I can rotate it 90 degrees. I could also rotate it from here, but it's just a lot easier to do it here and fine tune it a bit as well. And it's a bit too wide at the moment, so I'll just make it thin and then make it white and lower the opacity. Then I can just copy it again. And then I'll flip it horizontally and put it here. That's mostly done now. The next thing here is the board. So this is make a lot more use of the pen tool. So what I can do is for the board shape itself, I can just create a like a ellipse essentially, and then how I edited the shapes earlier, I'll just do that again and basically create a straight shape. I still don't like the shape exactly, so I can edit that a bit by moving this down a little bit. And so when that's the board shape done, I'll just edit the color to the purple. Okay. Now I'll make this simple. Now for the guy sitting in it. So what I'll do is, if you see the shape here, it's like just two main shapes. First is the body and the head, and then there's the hat, and then there's the fishing pole. So try replicating those first with the pen tool itself. So make a shape here for like the legs, and then just click it here. So then it's like it's not affected by the curve behind it. And then add another one with the body, and then I'll just add the head. And then add the back. Like that. And then I can change this down and make the shape. Then I'll move the stroke again and make it the same color as the book. Rotate it a bit and make it a little smaller. Then I'll just use another ellipse for the hat, so I can make a really thin use about the height and use the color. Now the only thing that's left here is the fishing pole, so I'll select that, and then I'll make a curve here. So, and then I'll select the node again because I want it to be a sharp corner instead of continuing the curve. And then I'll edit not fine. And that's the shape of the done. A little big, so but one thing I can do is just select all of this and then just flat. So I can press, so I can go here and then I can go into flatten. So that basically makes it one shape, and that's easier to use than having all of them be separate shapes. And make it a little smaller, and then copy it again for the section and flip it vertically down. And then I can just lower the opacity of it. Right. So since I copied it as a shape and then there's multiple shapes on top, and I lower the opacity, you can see where they overlap with the darker area. So instead, what I can do is I can copy it as PNG. So copy as PNG, paste. Move it down, make it small, and then lower the opacity to 20. And Then the last thing that's left is this. So it's basically just a zigzag shape I can just randomly go over with the pen tool. And then since it's currently above the board, what I'll just put it below that. And yeah, that's done then. So we covered most of the stuff that you use in Figma, and now I think Sneha will go over Illustrator.
Adiba, that was a great introduction to Figma. If you have any doubts in this session, then we'll take it over. We'll go over them towards the end. Now we'll hand the stage over to Sneha Pandey, who will take you over Adobe Illustrator and will also recreate a similar illustration using similar tools in Illustrator.
Hi, I'm Sneha. I'll just present my screen. Okay, so I hope my screen is visible. We'll be recreating this design today in Adobe Illustrator. So I'm just gonna log this layer and recreate this entire design. So to start with, we'll start with the tent right here. And you can also use the pen tool, but I'll be using the triangle tool, which is not, you can't really use it directly. So you select the star tool. What you can do is either double click it. So you have this dialog box that appears. So you'll just enter the number of sites at 3. Okay, so you have it right here. Now you go to the properties panel. This is the properties panel. This one is the layers one, and this one is for libraries. And as a beginner, you won't be using libraries a lot. So that's not what we're going to be focusing on. Okay, so I'll just flip it vertically, remove the fill. Now I'll just scale it to the exact size of the tent. And you see it's not really very precise right now. So what I can do is adjust the nodes. This one is the direct selection tool. So you single click on one of the nodes, you can adjust it like this. Same one for this middle one. And that's what we're gonna follow for the other side as well. Okay, so you have it right there. And for switching from the direct selection tool to the selection tool, one shortcut that comes in handy is V. You just have to click on V. Similarly, we can use the pen tool for this shape. So I'll just lock this layer. Okay, so for the pen tool, the shortcut is P. You don't need to memorize these at first, but these are really useful. So I'd recommend that you learn these. And now for these rectangles, we'll just be using the rectangle tool. So these are the shapes that you can use. You have the shortcuts as well. So M for rectangle, L for ellipse tool, then the polygon tool, the star tool, for which the one we use for creating the triangle, and then the line segment tool. So you have the rectangle tool right here. No, now I need it to be of the same size, so I'll just duplicate this one. So what I can do is switch back to the selection mode. I click on V, then I'll click on Alt and copy this one. Now drag it to the position we want it to be in. Wait 1 second, I just rotated it. Okay, never mind. Now again for the gradient one right here in the middle, we'll be using the pen tool. You can also duplicate the one we've created before, this purple one. Okay, so I have it right here. Now similarly for these shapes, the rectangle tool. I'll just be reducing the stroke, so you can reduce it from here. And for the pen tool, again, I lock this layer so that it doesn't merge with the original one. Now I'll just group these two shapes together. So I click on Control G, or what you can also do is that you right click and you click on group. So I've grouped them already. I'll just ungroup them, show you again. Okay, so we have it grouped. Now I'll duplicate it again. And we need to flip this one. So just like the vertical one, we need to flip it horizontally. Okay, so the tent is done. We'll recreate the stroke by tracing it with the pen tool. So I click on P and drag this node to now switch back to the selection mode. And you also have the curvature tool right here. So if your curves are not really perfect, like the curves of the shape are not really perfect, you can adjust them with the curvature tool. So I'll just drag this a bit lower. Now switch back to the pen tool and join these two nodes. Now for the eyedropper tool, the shortcut is I. You can also select it from here. So I'll just make it purple. And we'll be recreating the shadows in the end. So now we can go to the moon right here. I'll be selecting the ellipse tool. Click on shift for a symmetrical shape. And also if you don't click on shift, what happens, it this goes like this. So if you really need a perfect circle, you have to click on shift. Just change it to stroke. Similarly, you can resize it to the original mode. So I'll just drag it a bit lower, reduce size, and duplicate it again. So we click on Alt. You can also select the shape and click on Ctrl C and then Ctrl V. Now to adjust the nodes again, we'll select the Curvature tool. Now select both of the shapes and we don't want this part. The right one is completely unnecessary. So we go to the second shape mode. Now we have the moon right here. So you can also recreate this with a pen tool, but also using ellipses is really helpful, really symmetrical than a pen tool, and also the curves will be perfect. So you have these shape modes right here, and then the pathfinder. So what I'd recommend is that you open the software, you just play around with all the tools, get comfortable and acquainted with the entire interface. That will really help you. Okay, so for this shooting star or the meteor, whatever it is, I'll just create a stroke this length, switch back to the direct selection mode, the selection mode, and then go to the width tool, which is this one. So the shortcut for width tool is Shift plus W. You can also select it manually. So I'll just click on this node and drag it a bit lower. Now you can also rotate this. So you see this icon right here for rotating the shapes. And to make this a little round on the corners, you can either use the pen tool or the ellipse tool again. But I'll be using the curvature tool here. So, okay. Switch it to fill mode and then select both of these shapes, group them with Ctrl G. Now we'll just duplicate this entire thing again for the one in the background. So you click on Alt, drag it down, rotate the shape to a 90-degree angle. Now for resizing again, we click on Shift. So you just drag it to this position. Now again, to adjust the width, we can use the width tool, or you can also reduce the stroke because we've already applied that feature. So I'll reduce it to 6. That seems right. Now for the stars, what we'll be using is the Gaussian blur. So I'll just create 2 to 3 ellipses right here. Click on Shift, change it to fill. Now we go to the effects menu. We have the blurs, the Gaussian blur. This is the first one. So you can adjust the intensity. Maybe I want it to be around 5. Now we switch back to the selection mode, and we can also change the color of the fill. So I'll change it to white. Or you can also enter the hex code as well. Now I'll just duplicate these over all the other stars. Now for this shape right here, I'll just change the color 1 second. So to select a particular shape from the from a grouped element, you can click on control and then select the one element that you want to select. So I'll just change the color to a darker one, like maybe black or dark gray. Now lock this layer again. Trace the entire shape again with the pen tool. Now suppose the handles don't fit right, you can adjust the handles so you switch back to the selection mode and then you once again. Right, so you click on Alt, you can drag the handle lower. Now to adjust the nodes, you can also go back to the direct selection tool, select this particular node, drag it down, select the handle again. And now to create a straight line, you hold Shift and join both the nodes. Now switch back to the selection mode. Okay. So I'll just drag it. Uh, Now using the eyedropper tool, we select this pen. Okay, so we have it here. Click on V. For the moon, we'll select white. You can also select like a light gray and then reduce the opacity. So we'll just remove this black outline. Maybe to about 45%. Okay, so for this shape, again, we'll use the pen tool. I'll just make it a bit darker. Lock this layer again. Now with the pen tool, we trace it. Okay, so you can also use the curvature tool if any of the handles go wrong or need to adjust some curve. Now holding Shift, we'll join both the nodes. Click V. Now select the curvature tool and we'll just adjust the curves a bit. Now I'll just drag it a little over to make the surface smooth. And now using the eyedropper tool, we'll duplicate this color again. So click on V again. For the tent, we'll have to use the gradients. So I'll just unlock these layers. For both these rectangles, use the eyedropper tool again, this purple, and lock them again. So we'll just group them, lock these. So we'll be using the linear gradient, which is the orange yellow one. I'll just use the eyedropper tool to okay, so let's change the angle to 90 for the yellow one. It's a top color. So we'll be using this pink right here. Click on V, drag it to the original position. And we'll just bring this layer a bit lower to all of these. Now switch off the visibility. You click on the eye option to switch off the visibility. For these two, again, the eyedropper tool. Now select this rectangle. Again. Okay, so I'll just duplicate this one and delete those. Now horizontally flip it. You can also click on H or V to flip it. That's the shortcut. Camera. But wait now. 1 second. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out where I left. Okay, so we'll just group both of these. Again, for this triangle in the middle, use the gradient tool. Okay, so let me just change the angle to 90. And for the top color, no, for the bottom color, use this dark purple, and similarly I drop all these two colors on this. Click on V, drag it back to the original position. I'll just turn the visibility off. So for this triangle, we'll be using a light pink gradient. Now again, the similar procedure. So again, change the angle to 90 and write out all these colors. Okay, yeah, so we're done with the tent. Now we're left with the shadows, the sky, these cliffs right here, then the mountains. Okay, so for the shadow, I'll be using the pen tool. Shift for a straight line, and again hold shift. Drag it down. Okay, so we missed a note right here. So I'll just switch back to the pen tool. Select both of these nodes with the direct selection tool. So you hold shift to select both the nodes, delete this. Now, whenever you're creating shapes at the boundaries, you have to hold shift to have a straight line, symmetrical. And again, the same color. Okay, so okay, so we're using gradients a lot in this, as you might have noticed already. So again, to the gradient panel, change the angle to 90. Again with the eyedropper tool. Also, this design was already created, so that's why you're getting the entire gradient in one shape. Otherwise, when you're actually recreating an image, you'll have to take all these colors with the eyedropper tool. So by all these, you select these circles, and then you can select these colors. So for suppose you have a circle right here, click on the eyedropper tool, and it changes to this color. So I'll just click on Control Z, have the sky, arrange, send to back. Now I'll just lock this layer so it doesn't interfere with the entire design. For the sun, we'll be using gradient. So I'll just make an arc with the curvature tool.
Hi guys, sorry for the Illustrator tutorial being cut short. We're a little short on time, so I think we'll utilize this time to take up questions. And the rest of the tutorial, I think was pretty clear. Only the land was left, and we used gradient for that. We'll sort of attach the rest of the tutorial in the session recording. And we realized that there was a delay in releasing the first session recording. There were some administrative issues. We'll try to cut back on it as much as we can. But yeah, that's it. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to send them in the chat box and we'll take them up, or in the Q&A section, whichever is appropriate. Convenient. Sorry. Hi, Jahan. We're not really, when will we get the results for task 1? So we're not really releasing results per task, like for each task. The final result, when we'll release the list of finalists around the beginning of July, that will take into account your submissions for all of the tasks. So it's sort of a holistic approach rather than elimination round at each task, if that makes sense. Hi Arya, when will the task 2 be assigned? The task 2 will be posted. Oh, sorry, is my voice breaking? Is it better now? Okay, thank you. When will the task 2 be assigned? The task 2 will be assigned today itself, like by evening, and the submission deadline would be on Wednesday, midnight. So we'll just go over task 2 really quick. We'll post the entire document very soon. The thing is that you're going to be asked to make an illustration, like the one like the one Adibhav and Sneha just demonstrated. So you're going to be required to make an illustration and upload it along with the source files. The source files are important so that we can know what work you've done, how you approach the illustration, and of course, if your work is plagiarized or not. So if you're working on Figma, just attach the link, or if you're working on Illustrator, then attach the .ar file. That's important. Hi, Namish. The deadline for class 11, 2022 to 23 is still June 14th, right? No, the deadline for class 11, 2022 to 23 is June 12th. Actually, you're asking for the task 1 deadline? That's June 14th, yeah. As for the Elite registration deadline, that's June 12th. So after you've registered by June 12th, you will get 2 extra days to work on the first task. Any other questions? Hi, Zonish. Is it all right to use Photoshop for this task as well? Yeah, I think you can use Photoshop as well. There is no problem with that. But yeah, you know what? Yeah, you can use Photoshop. That's fine. Hi, Amira. For this session 2, please try to send the recording as soon as possible. We will try our best, but again, there were some administrative issues. We can't really help with that, but we will post the recordings as soon as possible. And if the recording is not posted on time, we'll work on the submission deadline as well, because we realize that this is a fairly new thing for everybody, and it's a jump from Google Slides to work on Figma. So yeah. Hi, Namish. So the old admissions don't have the extended deadline. The old admissions also have the extended deadline. There's no, yeah, but only 11 days. Only the people in 11th, both old and new admissions will have the same deadline, June 14th. Thank you, Namish. If there's nothing else, then we'll end the session at around 1:20. I hope that's fine. And if you have any other queries that you would like for us to take up, or if you need any help using Figma or Illustrator, we'll be happy to take that in like via email or the classroom or anything. We hope you guys learned something. Yeah. Hi, Amira. You have raised your hand. Okay. You have, I'm not sure what it is. If you want, if you have any queries, you can write it in the chat box or the Q&A session.
Thank you for joining, everyone. We hope you took something fruitful from this session.
Yeah. And there were some questions about the education plan. Again, it's not at all necessary for you to have the education plan. It's just a perk of being a school student that you can exploit, I guess. Will tasks to be prompt based? Not really. We're trying to stick away. We're trying to stay away from prompt based questions because um, that will be used in the finals. For now, we're just focusing on developing your skills and getting you guys familiar with the software before we can move to uh, prompts.
If you have any queries, please feel free to type them in the chat box or in the Q&A box. Otherwise, you can leave. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Thank you, Anasha. You too. We're in school today, by the way. This is the e-Gurukul lab, the Web Resources Center. This is where the head of exam, Mukesh sir, sits. His office is right there. Yeah, if you get inducted, we'll hang out here a lot.
Go find offline meetings.
This is Adibov. We get the super fun tutorials of Figma. Hi, Amira. Can you suggest which one of the two should be better, Adobe Illustrator or Figma? Both of them have similar uses. Whereas Figma is more focused on UI, UX design, like it's primarily meant for those. But as you saw today, it's great for illustrations as well. I personally am more inclined towards Figma because I find it much easier to use, and its UI, its interface is much less intimidating, and it's just easier to use generally. Especially for club work, since whenever we're making posters or banners or anything, we need multiple inputs and multiple people are working on it. So Figma is just very convenient because, again, with the education plan, we can collaborate, we can make teams, um, multiple people can edit the same file. So that's there. Adobe Illustrator is more industry based. So it definitely has more applications. Like there are some advanced effects and there are some advanced tools that you can use in Adobe Illustrator that are not really there in Figma. Again, in Figma also you can add external plugins for those same applications. But let's say, no, it's really tough choice. If you're in school, if you're using it for personal projects, Figma should work just fine. So you shouldn't really have much of a problem with either. I hope that helps. If you have anything else, please feel free to ask. We're sort of like 20 minutes, we have extended the time limit. So we'll just end the session for now. If you have any other queries, please feel free to fill out the Google form or submit or add a class comment or just mail us. However, we're available. We don't have any live. We're available 24/7. So yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know where to go. Okay, bye.
Thank you for joining.